on Saturday, June the 1st, there was a demonstration in London of, it was called together by that eternal thorn in the side of the establishment, Tommy Robinson, and it attracted a great many supporters of people who are fed up with what they see as two-tier policing of ordinary working class British people and various well, I was going to call them anti-establishment people, but actually they're not anti-establishment. They are, for some reason, the establishment. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, I'm Granniopteryx. So I'm reading various little bits from various newspapers, starting, I suppose, in order of my disappointment with the quality of the reporting. First of all, I'm going to play you a video as appeared in the Telegraph. Here are the groups. Now you will see the Iranian flag, the Union flag, the Scottish flag. I don't know what that yellow one is, but yeah, it's somebody else's flag. We have a lot of people here from all over Britain and points much further east, and they're all saying the same thing. They are not being given a fair hearing by the police. But it's not only. Now I just want you to notice here there's a rather small woman there. There are women here. Can you see? It appears to me to be a cross-section of what looks like working class British society from wherever in the British Isles. But does this look to you like a bunch of football hooligans? Because yeah, maybe I'm missing something here. And the report here says the protest organised by the far-right activists, that's Tommy Robinson, marched from Victoria Station down Vauxhall Bridge and along the embankment to Parliament Square. Oh dear. And then it says, meanwhile, a number of pro-Palestinian activists were arrested after breaching police conditions not to leave the pavement. Now that is interesting. I'm pointing this out because it turns up later on in a slightly different form. Alright, so let's carry on with the way the Telegraph has reported this. Tommy Robinson supporters shout out hate chant at far-right London demo. Right, so we've got the Telegraph's attitude to this straight away. They were chanting a hate chant. Hang on, do they give you what the hate chant is? Yeah, the hate chant is, who the F is Allah? That's a hate chant, apparently. That's it. And they do say, and other anti-Muslim chants, but I have seen that elsewhere in other papers. Other chants, but they never quote them. They never say anything, they never quote anything of what these people are supposed to have said that's anti-Muslim. And when they're not quoting it, my general opinion is that they're not actually saying anything at all. It sort of reminds me, actually, it's just brought something back to mind. A couple of years ago, I keep quoting this because it's such an egregious example. A couple, 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know, it was maybe 2 years ago, there was a bunch of Jewish teenagers on a bus trip into London on a holiday, Jewish holiday called Hanukkah. And they stopped off in various places and they were handing out donuts, which is a traditional treat for Hanukkah, and they were accosted by a group of young men who appeared to me, from what I could see, they appeared to be Arabs. They were spitting at the Jewish kids and threatening them, and then when the kids got back into the bus they were banging on the windows and spitting and generally acting badly. And when this was reported by the BBC, The reporter made great pains to explain to the people watching that the Jewish kids had been shouting racial slurs at the Muslims. That's what the reporter said. Fortunately, one of the kids had been recording the whole party on his mobile phone, and when the video was played, not one single racial slur was heard. But that's what the BBC kept on their website, and finally they were induced to change it, and now I believe it says a racial slur was heard. They wouldn't change their story. And so when I see this, that supporters shouted, "Who the F is Allah?" and other anti-Muslim chants, I do not believe that bit at all. All right, let's go on. There is also an element of the crowd previously well known for involvement in anti-lockdown protests during the pandemic and associated disorder. So what they're saying here is anyone who objected to the lockdown is a bad person. I have to be careful about how I phrase this next bit. But there is some medical opinion now that maybe this here was not such a hot idea. But still, they have to make sure that anyone who was of that opinion is somehow a terrible person and violent. It's not that we see Hamas people beating other people up, is it? No, they never come out like that in the reports. And then, while there have not been any offences so far, a number of people in the crowd are intoxicated. The event still has a number of hours left to go. So, yeah, you've got to be careful here. They're going to turn violent. Be afraid. Be very afraid. That's a constant theme. Right, next. The Independent. Tommy Robinson marchers lead anti-Muslim chant in London demo. That's the first thing. Not they're talking about two-tier policing. No, it's an anti-Muslim chant. Police said intoxicated individuals with a history of violent disorder have been spotted at the event, priming the pump. This is great. This is typical of the Independent, you know, socialist care. RAF right. They meant far right. They got the print round. I don't know how they managed that. Tommy Robinson supporters were filmed chanting anti-Muslim slogans. Police on high alert. Marchers chanted, "Who the F is Allah?" and other hateful slogans. What other hateful slogans? I refer you back to my previous comment. The Metropolitan Police said it spotted attendees previously well known for involvement in anti-lockdown protests during the pandemic and associated disorder. You recognise a theme here? Groups from across the UK linked to football disorder were seen at the event. Yeah. Again, a tweet from the Met. They've identified individuals within the crowd who have a history of being involved. They're using the same words again and again until it's driven into your mind. Here's the crowd of football hooligans and violent disorders. Look at them all. Now here in this one we have a picture from Hope Not Hate. And despite themselves, look what they've taken a photograph of. Today's demonstration is set to be the biggest gathering of far-right activists, football hooligans and Tommy Robinson supporters. This is as the Independent reports it, so they wanted this quote. There's a strong likelihood of violence. He said, we've unearthed shocking messages from hooligan chat groups where people are threatening to attack people of colour, pro-Palestine demonstrators and even the police. And did any of that happen? No. So Nick Lowles, I don't believe you. I'm quite prepared to believe that if somebody from Hope Not Hate saw a Tommy Robinson supporter saying it's a nice sunny day today, they would interpret it as this is a nice sunny day and a good day for a dust up. I'm quite sure that that's how they were reading most of the hateful or shocking messages they say they found. Alright, so that's as reported in the Independent. This is the Daily Express. London protests latest, police make 9 arrests as Tommy Robinson addresses crowd. And who are those 9 arrests? They are counter-protesters from the Palestinian Hamas or whatever, from the Muslim side of the demonstration, and they were arrested because they refused to stick to the limits that the police had given them about where they could stand. But does it say that there in the Express? No. 9 arrests. Protests latest, and there were 9 arrests. What is the average non-involved reader supposed to get from that? Yeah, that it's the Tommy Robinson supporters. 9 people have been arrested at protests in London led by a counter pro-Palestine demonstration by right-wing activist Tommy Robinson. It's all framed to give you the idea that those 9 arrests were from the Tommy Robinson side. Londoners were warned known football hooligans are gathering in pubs as widespread disruption looms with 4 separate protests. Oh, by the way, the 4 separate protests, the other 3 were against Tommy Robinson, I think. At least 2 of them were, I'm not so sure about the 3rd. The Tommy Robinson march got underway at 12 noon. That should be underway, 2 words, but what do you expect from the Daily Express? With the controversial 41-year-old sharing clips via X, in which he was shown walking alongside actor and former London mayoral candidate Laurence Fox. In a video shared on his X page, the convicted felon addressed his supporters as he said, "This is what London should look like." Okay, now I think they're trying to say this is what London should look like, and they're trying to imply this is an all-white thing, but it wasn't an all-white thing, was it? And there were flags from Iran on the march as well as the Union flags. So yeah, right. That was the Express. Now we're into the Mail Online. Football hooligans and anti-lockdown protesters. There we have this thing, you know, football hooligans and anti-lockdown protesters. The basket of deplorables were among the thousands of Tommy Robinson supporters, and they put that in quotes, but it was thousands. You've seen the pictures. Thousands of Tommy Robinson supporters who descended on central London today as balaclava-clad demonstrators flew the flag of St George and let off smoke canisters. Just a minute. Can you see any balaclavas there? Or smoke canisters? I don't see any. I mean, that is a genuine surprise. My supposition is that the balaclavas were on the pro-Palestine protesters, and they've managed to conflate it here. Convicted stalker and thug Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, organised the protest under the auspices of calling for the resignation of Met Police Chief Mark Rowley for presiding over what he called London's 2-tier policing system. And if you doubt that, just take a look at my other video, which I shall upload before this one, which shows an anti-Hamas single man demonstrator being arrested by the police. Being arrested by, I think, probably 6 or 7 police, being thrown to the ground, having his arm twisted behind his back, after having been attacked by a pro-Palestine protester who was on camera and very easily identifiable. He wasn't arrested. And this is what Tommy Robinson called London's 2-tier policing system. Some members of the crowd set off smoke flares and air horns as they marched down Millbank And a video appears to show a Tommy Robinson supporter being arrested by police. Appears to show. Alright, there's the crowd of football hooligans and lockdown protesters. And I like this one. Members of the public gather in Whitehall to protest against Tommy Robinson and the English Defence League. There isn't an English Defence League anymore. Stop fascist Tommy Robinson, and these are members of the public. What would you call these people then? Are they not members of the public? No. They are football hooligans and anti-lockdown protesters. Can you see the way this has been reported? Shame on you, Daily Mail. Well, I don't doubt they'll feel any shame. These are the non-members of the public here, flying their flags. I don't see a balaclava there among any of them. Supporters of British far-right activist Tommy Robinson wave Union Jack, that should be Union flag, and England flags as they wait to march. There was at least one Iranian flag, I mean Persian flag really, I suppose, and a couple of others which I couldn't identify. Alright, let's have a look at the next one. That was the Daily Mail. This is the Metro. Football hooligans known for violence in attendance at Tommy Robinson rally. And there's an unflattering picture of Tommy Robinson. Is he chewing something? Anyway, known football hooligans are among thousands gathered, well, at least the thousands isn't in quotes this time, to support the far-right activist Tommy Robinson today, say Met Police. So, you know, you've got the words hooligan and far-right. Do they think, and this guy here, does he look all that white to you? Doesn't look all that white to me. Maybe it's the quality of the video. No, he's definitely a person of colour, because there were people of colour there, and there were people who were being brought up as Muslims who do not want what the pro-Palestine mob are agitating for, who are just as afraid of radical Islam as that guy or any of these guys around Tommy Robinson. Now obviously you take a picture of him, he's going to be surrounded by mates who are there to protect him. So you're going to see a lot of men, but there were a lot of women on that march as well. This was not a stream of football hooligans. Robinson, known for his anti-Islamist campaigns, led a march from Victoria Station in London to Parliament Square, where he called on the resignation of Met Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley. He showed a documentary, Lawfare, which claims Sir Mark leads a two-tier policing system that favours Muslims and pro-Palestine supporters over white Brits. And anyone who saw the St George's Day parade would just have to agree. There was a pro-Palestine parade on the previous day to St George's Day, and then on the Sunday there was a St George's Day parade of the sort of people who are patriotic about Britain. The first parade, the police just stood back and let them take over the centre of London. St George's Day parade, they charged into this small crowd with horses. If anyone thinks that isn't two-tier policing, they have a serious problem with their perception. Okay, right, that's the Metro. And then it said a counter-protest was held by Stand Up to Racism. Well, at least they didn't refer to them as ordinary citizens or whatever the other paper called them. This is the Mirror. Tommy Robinson leads hundreds of football hooligans in London march demanding Met Police Chief quits. Tommy Robinson has been jailed several times, including once for the assault of an off-duty police officer. That is, an off-duty police officer, so I don't know the circumstances, but it seems to me that off-duty police officers are known to act quite badly, and so that doesn't mean anything, does it? Of course, they make it seem like it does. Far-right activist Tommy Robinson, far-right activist, yeah, marched with massive crowds of supporters, including those linked to football disorder. And here we are, the same photographs. So they're all getting their stories from some sort of a central source, aren't they? And here is the police saying our priority is to ensure those exercising their right. I do suggest, if you haven't seen the previous video in which I show exactly how the police allow various different protesters to exercise their right or not, that's in the other video. I devoted a whole video to that. It's not very long though. Alright, next. And then the Standard. It used to be the Evening Standard. Tommy Robinson leads football hooligan march in London demanding resignation of Met Chief Mark Rowley. And here's the same unflattering photograph. The audience was shown a series of video montages with supporters jeering and shouting derogatory language at images of small boat crossings, Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer. Well, you find any political meeting where the opposition doesn't get derogatory hoots. Several hundred metres away in Whitehall, a static counter-demonstration had been set up by Stand Up to Racism. Okay, that's the story, and that's my comparison of the newspapers. And as I said, not much different. They're all singing from the same hymn sheet, and I do have to wonder why. All right. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.